Hey everybody, it is the middle of the week. Brought back the weather blog, and last week we talked about the recap of the winter storm that we had just a couple of weeks ago, and it's just been amazing how crazy our weather's been since then. We've seen temperatures, record-breaking temperatures, numbers almost in the 80s for afternoon highs. Now we get to see the other side of our secondary severe weather season, and that could be the chance for some strong or severe storms. Tomorrow, and Chief Meteorologist Mark Prater will have all the details for you coming up on the CBS 42 News at 6 o'clock. Hopefully you tuned in at 5, but join him at 6 to have more details on what we can expect. Looks like we're going to have a couple of rounds and chances of severe storms. I'm not going to go through the entire forecast here, but I will tell you that the chances are there for tomorrow. I think maybe a couple of thunderstorms. A lot of rain, though, chances for tomorrow, anywhere from an inch to maybe 2 inches of rain, which would be really good for our drought. And then we've got chances for severe weather this weekend. Hey, Mark.
How you doing?
And this weekend, Saturday into Sunday, we could see chances for severe storms. So Mark's going to have more info on that, aren't you, Mark?
I don't know.
He will.
Yes.
Trust me. He'll have more information on it coming up a little bit later. But we wanted to get to this. This is something that's very cool that I actually discovered just the other day. AlabamaDrought.com. Now, this is a product of the Alabama Cooperative Extension System. Basically, these are the folks that go out and talk about agriculture and kind of help along farmers and get all of their needs met. And they launched this website to update us on the drought. Just normal folks like you and me update us on the drought and tell us how it's impacting folks in the agricultural community. So if you go on to alabamadrought.com, you're going to get a ton of information, not about the agriculture here in the state, but also everyday folks like me and you, our lawns, our grass, how all this drought is impacting us and what we can do to mitigate that. Right, Mark?
Absolutely.
Yes. And AlabamaDrought.com is going to stay online even after the drought's over. We talked to some of the extension agents earlier, and they said that as long as there's financial impacts of the drought, which are most likely going to last long after the drought is actually over, this site is going to stay up. So head on over there. There's a ton of information. I perused it for a good solid couple of hours today and just read all the articles about it. You've got anywhere from how drought affects horses to tax tips for people filing their taxes that took losses in the agricultural business this year. So there's a ton of information if you're a farmer, if you're not a farmer, to go and check out. And last but not least, this is an article that I read and found today that was absolutely fascinating. Did you know that it's freezing cold, almost freezing, but cold inside the middle of a tornado's vortex? And this is a study done by Concordia University, and it takes us back to 1955. This was a tornado report back in 1955 from Scotts Bluff, Nebraska. So what happened was 3 radio reporters went out to cover this storm, this tornado or the storm. They were caught out in the middle of a tornadic event. A funnel cloud went right over them and then touched down in the city of Scotts Bluff. They took shelter in a basement, but while they were down there, they said they experienced 2 random events that they couldn't explain. Number 1, it got really, really cold when the tornado passed over them. Number 2, they had trouble breathing. Now, hopefully, no one out there has been in the middle of a tornado, but if you have, you might have had these similar experiences. And a researcher at Concordia University, a mechanical engineer, went through some data, went through some analytics, and found out that basically what happens in the middle of a tornado vortex, right in the middle, kind of like the eye of a hurricane, but right in the middle, you have a big density drop of air. And there's a lot of different ways this could happen, but basically he says temperatures can drop from 80 degrees, upper 70s to near 80 degrees, all the way down into the 50s in just a matter of seconds because of this big drop in air density. And also, when you have an air density drop, it's like going up into the atmosphere. It's like climbing a mountain. There's not a whole lot of air up there to breathe. That's why these reporters were having a shortness of breath. So it's a really fascinating study. Encourage you, if you're a weather nerd like me, to go on and read that. There's a lot of cool stuff there, and I linked it down at the bottom of the article the University of Concordia University's website. So that's really interesting as well. And then finally, the complete winter storm recap from the National Weather Service is now up on their webpage. Took them about a week to get this all compiled, but it's got a lot of weather nerdy stuff too. We talked about the winter storm here in our forecast and the impacts that we had, and even shared some pictures with you on the weather blog last week. But this is a really good resource. The National Weather Service compiled a lot of different information from residents out that took pictures and video, and some meteorological elements too, some of the really geeky, hardcore, nerdy stuff too, and put it all in one spot. So I linked that down at the bottom of the page as well. You can spend about half an hour, 45 minutes just looking at all that stuff too. So to recap, we've got a chance for some storms this week into the weekend, and Mark's going to talk about that coming up at 6 o'clock, which is in about 18 minutes or so. So tune in to CBS 42 then. AlabamaDrought.com, check that out. New website that was created by the Alabama Extension Agency, and also the cold air and very low density air in the middle of a tornado. Very cool stuff there. So that's it for the weekly weather fix this week. If you have any questions, drop us a line, and we'll be sure to make sure those are answered. See you later, everybody.